Hi everyone, this is Darren with SimNation. Just doing a quick recap video for SNCFL, which is our Draft Day Sports College Football League here at SimNation. Well, one of our three. This one is mostly focused on FBS schools, whereas GMCFL is focused on FCS. And then, of course, we have GSNCFL, which is a league that merges both sets of divisions into the same division. So we just completed week one. If you remember the preview video, I kind of talked about a couple key matchups and so forth. So we'll just dive right in and kind of do a quick recap. Um, so if we go back to week one, of course, the big marquee game in week one was Auburn versus Oklahoma State. Let's see if I can't find that hill real quick. Should be up here actually, but I don't see it. Anyways, we'll go to that one. Top 25 games. I'm sorry, it's Auburn versus UCLA. Oklahoma State was playing someone else in Syracuse. So if we look at this game real quick, this was kind of a tale of two halves. Stuart had a better second half than the first half. The first half allowed Invisible Witness with Auburn to kind of run away with it a little bit. You see Hill Condon, who is been there for a long time. He is really one of the better quarterbacks in this league. Should have a good pro career coming into his senior season. Had a pretty good game. It was quiet. He did get sacked quite a few times. And then on the opposite side, you see Arias, the running back. Just the rushing attack of Invisible in general, I think, is what won him this game. So that's it's not really an upset per se because Invisible and Auburn has been a team that's been knocking on the door, but definitely probably not the way that Stuart wanted to start the season with a loss to Auburn. Now the good news is, even though they are number one ranked, they lost to number four ranked team in the nation. I will just go through the rest. Louisiana Lafayette. This is Invisible versus Tony. Tony had issues with his upload, so. What you see here is Louisiana Lafayette just shredded SMU. But again, bear in mind that Tony didn't really have his game plan in effect for this one, but really good game from Invisible. This is a team to keep an eye on. They will probably make the playoffs, and they can definitely make some noise in the playoffs. You see Harold Curry, the running back out of Louisiana Lafayette, had 3 touchdowns and almost 200 yards. Virginia Tech, Alabama. This is Virginia Tech is Bama, and then Alabama's DWK. You see here that DWK got the early win, upsetting Virginia Tech. Did it through the air. Waldron, who is a pretty good quarterback, threw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Maryland versus Miami. Miami was ranked at this time. You can see here they were number 13 ranked. Maryland's number 2. Maryland just shredded them. A large part of it had to do with Chung, who is a sophomore now and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Matt took on Louisiana Tech with Clemson. No shock there. He absolutely shredded them. And then Louisiana Monroe. This is Skelter versus CPU Washington State. Closer than Skelter probably wanted it, but Skelter threw the ball pretty well. That's not something that's normal for Louisiana Monroe. They are a running team, but you can also see here that they ran the ball extremely well too. Starfinder took on Connecticut with Florida. No shock here. Florida gets the win. 3 touchdown performance from Ha, who's the running back, and that's a good solid opening win for them. Georgia versus Western Michigan. This used to be Stuart, isn't anymore. Of course, this is Shark. And no shock here. Shark just beat them down pretty bad. Georgia had a really good game, totally. You see here Duncan, the wide receiver, had 3 touchdown passes and over 150 yards. So almost, about slightly over 50% of the yards were to Duncan. So really good, solid game from Hill. Stewart looking to start the season off right with Duke. Takes on South Carolina, gets the win. Again, solid game across the board for Duke. Definitely beat the spread and got a win. They are number 10 ranked. That would have been an upset had they lost. Michigan versus Central Michigan in a battle of Michigans. This again is Stewart with Michigan. No contest. That's just an for want of a better word, that's an ass beating. 80-3, great job, good start. He's got to be happy with that, especially since it's against Central Michigan. But almost 200 yards rushing from Krugel, who is a former Maryland running back. But he's continued to grow, and he's now, I think, become the feature bat, but can't miss the 439 yards from Sumner on just 14 completions. That's pretty insane. Syracuse versus Oklahoma State. This is Skelter versus Syracuse. No shock here. Oklahoma State just demolished Syracuse. That this game was never going to really be in doubt. And then a lot of the other games are this is on top 25, so we'll kick back out. You see Oklahoma versus Memphis. This is Van versus the CPU. Uh, Oklahoma is one of the better teams in the Big 12. Kind of makes sense. Van is still imprinting his identity. Had a really good first half. Was up at halftime, and then Oklahoma just hit the gas and ran them over. Indiana versus Notre Dame. This is Bama's other team versus Notre Dame. Solid win for Indiana. Very good stats across the board. You see here McPherson had 8 catches for 121 yards and 1 touchdown. Arizona versus Georgia State. This is Stuart's 4th team in Georgia State. Solid win for Georgia State right out of the chute against Arizona. You can argue Arizona's not a great team, but doesn't matter. It's still a very, very solid win for them. Arizona versus Arkansas, Arizona State versus Arkansas. This is Starfinder, I think, at Arkansas, me at Arizona State. And good solid beginning for my 0 to hero team, 54-20. Probably better than what I thought. It was close at halftime, and then in the second half, Arizona State just took over. Really good game from Scully, who's going to have to be really good for Arizona State to have a good season. Wyoming versus Minnesota. This is V Gorilla at Wyoming. Solid opening win for him. Definitely know he's looking to turn the corner with Wyoming this season. So off to a really good start. You see how Armstead had 143 yards on the day. Uh, Arkansas State versus USC. This is Van at USC. A little bit of an upset hill. Arkansas State, by the way, just so everyone knows, is actually a good team. But probably not the result that Van wanted. Had a good solid running game in place. It's just that fourth quarter was pretty brutal for USC as Arkansas came back and took it. Tulane is actually now on CPU. This was Shark, and they get a good win against Marshall, but they'll move over to CPU. And I think the only other games are going to be Cal versus Akron. This is another Bama team versus Akron. And solid win, easily ran away with this one. Good rushing game from Martinez, as well as a good catching game from Boy. Um, Kentucky versus Western Kentucky, the battle of the bluegrass. This is my true 0 to hero team, and Forrest had a really, really strong game in this one. 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, as Kentucky easily gets away from Western Kentucky, largely in the second half. Again, it's one of those games. Central Florida, this is Froggy versus Northern Illinois. Froggy gets the win, probably closer than he wanted it to be, but still wins a win, especially this early in the season. See how McCutcheon had 7 catches for 119 yards. Um, this is the game that probably broke Kevin's heart a little bit. Florida International upsets Iowa. Florida International is actually a pretty decent team. They have a good passing attack, but definitely Kevin would want to have this back. And again, better second half than the first half, and really it's that first half that was the difference in the two. If we look at the league leaders real quick, what you'll see is definitely Sumner had a really strong game. Shaka Chung, sorry, had a really good game as well. Those are 2 guys to keep an eye on throughout the season. We'll just go to rushing yards. And then you see Krugel really off to a great start. Charles Baker is the next great Oklahoma State running back. Same with Bradley Curry for ULL. Traditionally, Oklahoma State or Louisiana Monroe's running back are the ones who win the rushing titles, just because Skelter puts a huge emphasis on it. But great start for Jamal Krugel, even though he transferred out of Maryland, still rooting for him. Receiving yards wise, you can see here a lot of really good performances, quite a few people over 200 yards. Stubbs is the one for Starfinder, and he's got to be really happy for that. That Iowa State game, it was really Kenneth Fay that made the difference in that game for Florida International. 223 yards is always a major thing. Tackling wise, don't expect to see many CPU teams here, but you do see human. You do see Stacy Sherry here, who's with Auburn. Really good 12 tackle performance out of him. And then sack wise, again, see a couple people with 4 sacks. Anthony Sanders had a really strong game. And then 2 guys with 3 with 2 of my old teams, actually, Alan Hardy and Stephen Key with Washington and Buffalo. Jared Baker's a guy to keep an eye on as well as Jose Barnes, or yeah, it would be Jose Barnes. Interception wise, you see Hill again. You had a couple guys with 2 with Christopher Creamer out of Tulane, Elmo Manzo out of Penn State, Guy Roy out of Nevada. So really some really strong performances in week 1. Is it gonna make me look at the whole thing? Yeah. Since I'm not going to save this, I'm just going to do this real quick. Oh, I'm not logged in as commissioner. No, we don't want to do that. So just bear with me 1 second here. I wish there was a just show all, um, because we keep our scores hidden for the coaches in the league. It means that it will hide the results from week to week, which is a good thing because in the past you might not see the score result, but it would actually tip you off as to whether you won or lost, and there are coaches who like watching the games themselves. I think that should be all the games, and it should now open up. Just make sure I'm not missing any. I'll go back to league information. Uh, it's just not going to be. Okay, well, we'll figure that out. We'll just look at these. Pretty sure I got them all. Yeah, that's just going to be a major problem with the rankings. I'm just going to log in as the commissioner real quick. Um, and we're going to flick this off for a second just so we can see it. Where's hide scores? Presentation. Just do this. Go ahead and save. It's not going to save because this is all up online and I didn't make the change there. So let's close that. We'll go back to league information. It should show me. It's kind of embarrassing. Apologize for it. I'll show it later, but I will say UCLA is not number 1 anymore. I don't know why it's making a decision not to do that. I think the only way would be for me to force it forward, uh, and I may report that as a bug. So, anyways, moving on to this week, you have Van who's taking on Cincinnati. Really hard to gauge this one. Cincinnati's a really good team. Was DWK's team. I think Cincinnati's actually going to win this one. Sorry, Van. I just think that they are a little bit better. You have the secondary team fight, Louisiana Lafayette, which is invisible, versus Oklahoma State, which is Skelter. These are both like their second teams. Unfortunately, I like Oklahoma State in this one. I think that they will beat Louisiana Lafayette. But I think if they were to meet again later in the season, the score probably would be different. Van and Memphis should down Southern Alabama relatively easily. Indiana is probably going to be Kentucky. This is me versus Bama. I'm at Kentucky just because the matchups aren't there, and Bama has a pretty good Indiana squad. Virginia Tech, I think Bama bounces back against Oklahoma and gets his win and hands Oklahoma the first loss. Arizona State versus UNLV. I like UNLV in this, even though Arizona State's my team. They don't match up well. I don't really have the secondary or the defense to be able to deal with UNLV. I like Stuart and Georgia State over Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, sorry. I think Tony, because he did upload, it was successful, is going to beat Rutgers this week because, again, Kev's not there anymore. Penn State should down Arkansas. Sorry, Starfinder, but I think Penn State's squad is slightly better. Tennessee, which is Udo, will open their season with a win against Louisville, who's pretty historically bad. Bama should beat Wisconsin relatively easy. DWK should be in good shape. They'll be 2-0. Michigan with Stuart will probably eviscerate Oregon. Oregon's not that good in this league. Central Florida versus Washington. This will be a good game. I think Froggy gets the win though, and he should be moving to 2-0. This would be a good game if you didn't know that Maryland thumped Miami pretty thoroughly last week. So I look for Invisible to thump Miami a second time, and they should drop out of the rankings after this game. Boston College, this is another of my zero to hero teams. I do like their chances against Arizona. I think that they'll win that one. Clemson, I don't know what's up with the lines here. There's no way in hell that Washington State's going to even hang with Clemson. Matt has a really strong squad. This should be like Clemson by 25. Florida versus UTEP. I like Florida in this one. Starfinder should get the 2-0 win. Gears is new, and you don't really get an indoctrination into our league um, any better than having to face Skelter and his Louisiana Monroe squad in the first game. The only thing that would be worse is facing like Georgia or Maryland or UCLA in your first game. Michigan State, by the way, does probably have one of the hardest schedules in this league because they get all the big boys. But I do think Louisiana Monroe is going to win this one. I don't know Garrett as a coach yet. This is literally his first game in the league. I don't think Michigan State should be favored in this one. There was a huge talent differential between these two teams. So even if Garrett gets it all right, I think he's still going to struggle a little bit. Bama should down Ball State relatively easy with California. Look for UCLA to take all their anger at last week out on North Texas. This one probably will not be pretty at all. Wyoming should get their second win against Tulsa, so V Gorilla will be on the right track. This is a CPU game. Texas Tech, who was my zero to hero last year, should open with a win against Wake Forest. I do like their chances in this unless Trejo gets hurt, who's their quarterback. Maryland should easily get past Colorado. It's definitely not an even. There's a huge differential in talent between these two teams. West Virginia, they should open with a win against Mississippi. V. Gorilla has done some pretty good things with West Virginia, and I look for him to just continue doing that. And then, of course, the rest are CPU teams. So it should be interesting to see how this plays out tonight when I run the sim, but definitely looking forward to week 2. Had some really good results in week 1. I think a lot of things are holding true to see with what I put in the preview. There aren't really any surprises yet. I do feel bad for Tony that his upload didn't go through last week. But all in all, this should be an exciting week 2, with the main game, of course, being Oklahoma State versus Louisiana Lafayette. That's the game of the week. So thank you for your time tonight. If you want to join us, links are on the video, and hope you have a great night.